How you all doing? Straight into this video. Most of the time when I'm talking about Africa, I always use Nigeria as an example because I'm from Nigeria. So it's easy for me to talk about Nigeria and Nigerians because only Nigerians will understand Nigeria and only Nigeria will understand Nigerians. Okay, I want to compare, not really compare, that's why I don't have a topic for this video. If you are watching this video, please try to watch it all the way to the end. If you are an African, I beg you in the name of the Lord, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, please leave a comment. I want to know, I would love to know what you think after you finish watching this video. Now, for me to complete this video, I have to, even though Africa is a country, Africa is a continent, right? But for the purpose of this video, let's assume Africa is a country, okay? Africa is a country and China is a country. Now, currently, China population in 2025 is 1.4 billion people in China, and Africa, 1.5 billion people. Again, let's assume each of these countries, remember, we are using Africa as a country, not as a continent in this video. Now, so let's assume each one of them has 1.5 billion people, just to be fair. Each one of them as a country has 1.5 billion people. And land-wise, Africa is bigger than China. I think Africa is like 12 million miles radius or something like that. China is a lot smaller, right? But for the purpose of this video, again, let's assume both countries, Africa and China, let's assume both of them have the same land mass, 15 million miles radius. 15 million miles radius, each one of them. So here comes scenario one. Let's assume each of these countries is a desert, complete desert, nothing on the land, nothing. Now, what do we do in this scenario? We move people. We move the Chinese people to the land of Africa, and we move Africans to the land of China. Remember, the population is the same, 1.5 billion people. The land mass is the same. But what we are doing is, and also in this scenario one, the land is desert, nothing on the land. And we move 1.5 billion Chinese people to Africa and 1.5 billion Africans to China. What do you think will happen to each of the country? Scenario number two, leave each country the way they are right now. Remember, Africa as a country and China as its own country. This is 2025. Leave Africa the way it is. Leave China the way it is. And what are we doing in this scenario two? We exchange people. Leave the country the way it is, technology-wise, and everything that is in the country, the way China is right now, and the way Africa is right now. But all we do is exchange the people. Move all the Chinese people to to Africa, and move all the African people to China. Let me repeat that. Move all the Chinese people from China, move them to Africa, and move all the Africans to China. But leave each country the way it is right now in 2025. What do you think the Africans will do in China? And what do you think the Chinese people will do to Africa? That's scenario number two. Okay, we come to the last scenario. Number 3, leave each country the way it is. Leave Africa the way it is. Leave China the way it is. Leave the people in their own country. Leave Chinese people in China. Leave Africans in Africa. But remember, again, we are using Africa as a country. But in this scenario number 3, what we are doing is we swap the leadership. We move the people in power, the government of China, we move it to Africa. And we move the government of Africa to China. I know, you can say that that's impossible. I'm using Africa as a country, remember. So, what was I saying? Okay, we move the government, the people in power, the people in the government in power. We move them from China to Africa and the people in Africa to China. So we only swap the government, the people in power. We leave the regular citizens the way they are. So now Africa as a country still have their people, but Chinese people is, in government, right? The same thing in Africa, in China, you leave all the Chinese people and now their government is run by Africans. What do you think will happen to each country? I'm waiting. Well, in this video, I've already told you there will be so much repetition. If you really want to know each scenarios, go back to the beginning. But let me try to run quick. Let me summarize each of the scenario. Scenario 1, we move. Each country is a desert, and we just exchange the people. We move the Chinese people to Africa, and we move the Africans to China. What will happen to each country? Then scenario number 2 is we leave each country the way it is as they look in 2025, but we only move the people. So we move all the Chinese people to Africa and all the Africans to China. What will happen? Right. Now, then the third one, which is the last one, is we leave everything the way it is, but we move the government, the people in power, the people that make decisions. We exchange them. What do you think will happen in each scenario?